All right. Okay, so in this part of the exercise now, guys, we're going to take a look at working inside of After Effects with first here kind of aligning and working with video clips inside the timeline and getting them orchestrated up next to audio that you're already working with. Again, this particular demonstration assumes that you have an audio track or selection of audio tracks already orchestrated inside of your design for you to work with. So please make sure that if you're listening to this or working through this part of the exercise, again, that's something you have ready to go so that you have somewhere to move with it. Okay, so down in our design here, I'm going to scroll down on my timeline because I've got a lot of masking tracks on the top level here. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and here I've got just kind of a short little audio section that I've put some things together on in terms of working with a variety of for audio. A few things to note when wanting to bring in things like audio or video into the timeline, just as a reminder, because I often get this question like, how do I get more than one thing to play at a time inside of After Effects? Or if I want to reproject on my object and have multiple things playing at the same time. And that's a great question. And simply, like the one thing you need to pay attention to is making sure on the timeline that those respective things that you want to play at the same time are overlapping on the timeline stack. So if I look here in my timeline and I have a mask for this particular spot, this mask number 11, it also overlaps the green solid. And they both pretty much play for the entire duration of the project. As long as they are overlapping, they will always both be invisible. Now, if I change either of those at any point, notice if I change the length of this track or shorten it, that particular thing does not show any longer, but the mask continues to remain on screen. Okay? So it'll come on only at one point. So when you're lining stuff up on screen, you want to make sure that if you want it to play at the same time, that you just make sure that they are overlapping those particular pieces of media that you want to show. That works the same with anything that you're layering in here. Always remember, you're working with time now, not just stacking stuff up like in Photoshop in a layer stack, but you now have the extension of duration at your fingertips to control. So just bear that in mind when you're working through that part. Now I'm going to pull in a couple video clips from my project tab that I have kind of sitting in here. And let me see if I can see them. All right, there they are. So I'm going to grab these and I'm going to bring them down and place them right below my last solid, so that they're right below all my masking layers. And for what we're doing today, like I'm not going to be paying attention too much to what's going on in the masks. I'm primarily just working with synchronizing video up to audio. In your own design, when you're working with it, you should be dictating and thinking about where video files are going to go in terms of relation to your masking work. Which files should be showing through certain areas, which animations should be showing through certain areas. So I've got these two video tracks dropped in here, and I'm going to go ahead and solo them so that everything else in After Effects is turned off temporarily. And so I've got these two tracks to work with. And I've got them soloed, and I'm going to go ahead and actually turn my audio layers on as well. So I've got them all muted right now from our last exercise of working with exporting. So I'm going to turn them all back on. And then I'm going to solo all of my audio for now so that my video clips are visible and my audio clips are visible, and then everything else at the top of this is completely turned off for the time being. So a couple things here with just working on synchronization of imagery to audio. So the first things we can do, some basic synchronization techniques. First one up is matching up like in or out points for a respective track. So I'm going to zoom in a bit. is I've got lots of these little sprinkled little audio tracks throughout my piece, these little tiny tracks right here. And I have these laid in, and these are actually original coin drop sounds, but I've added some effects to them to change them up a bit. But each of them is pretty short. Like they maybe have like a duration of 1 second, maybe. And when lining up video to audio, again, a basic is just picking endpoints to create like a video transition. So let's say that you want to get something to line up with one of these tracks out here. So the basic that I would do is bring your playhead in to where it kind of lines up with the beginning of that track. And then you can select the track that you want to line up with it. And if you use the open bracket key on your keyboard, it will drag or magnetize the endpoint of that selected track to your playhead. Now you can also use the close bracket and it will magnetize the out point to the playhead instead. But that allows you to kind of quickly move the playheads around accurately. And that'll bring it in to where the endpoint is. Now if you want to be really accurate, because sometimes working at a certain zoom level does not do it justice. You could be off by several frames and not realize it, and it could be completely misaligned. So I'm going to drag in, and I'm going to zoom with this little tool down here, and this zooms in towards your playhead. So I'm going to zoom in and just see how accurate I got it. And I'm looking at it, and it's just barely off, right? Like by 1 frame. Not that big of a deal, but sometimes it can be a little jittery inside the main playback, even if it's off by 1 frame. That's enough to make it throw off. So this is a quick way to do it. Just get it zoomed in enough, line them up, zoom back out. And so now I've got those two things playing, or at least starting at the same time, so they queue up on the tone. Now I can also do that with other tracks in my design. If I look down here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of these other kind of abstract audio clips that play back to back in a stair-step fashion to each other. So one plays, it ends, another plays, it ends, another plays, it ends, and so on and so on. So if I want to line up with those, and again, they're located way down here on my timeline. One way that I can do that is, again, line up my playhead first with the end or beginning of the track. So let's say that I want to line up a video to transition into the screen right at the beginning of this clip. So I'm just going to make sure that my playhead is right on for the beginning of that clip. Zoom in, do it, zoom back out. Scroll up on your timeline and go to your video clip that you want to move around. And now I can just magnetize it with my open bracket key. And it will automatically move it right to the playhead, which is spot on with exactly where I need it. And again, that's using your open bracket button next to the letter P key on your keyboard, and that'll lock it onto the endpoint of that selected track. Super helpful and a little more accurate. But now it's actually locked together, so I've got perfect synchronization between those tracks, so that whenever they play correctly and in the right order. So right now, what it sounds like and kind of looks like is something like this. Now I jog the system there for it to play back, and sometimes that messes with the audio when you slide up and down if your computer's running on limited resources. But I can kind of see, like, as I drag and play through, like where video tracks come in or where they transition in and out of screen. And so that's just good to see, like, that I'm getting, that you're getting respective alignments done correctly inside of your track. Now, keep in mind that, like, none of these are masked right now, so they're all showing in the same timeline area together. I'm going to actually shorten this video track here of the trees so that I can see it queue out and the next one queue in. And again, you're just looking for timing places to get things rigged. Again, your audio design and your video and graphic asset design may be completely different, and that's fine. But start looking at places where you can queue up stuff based on your audio. Remember, this is a project that works up from the audio stance and not the other way around. All right. So that's one basic of working that way. Another method for marking off your timeline, there's a temporary tool that you can add called a marker to the timeline for marking off areas to which you can drop and match up keyframes or slide tracks around to match up to. So the way to do that, and this is often used for marking off media inside your timeline, is using a timeline marker. Your timeline markers are over here on the right side of your timeline, in line with your render bar, and it's this upside down triangular shape. And this represents a timeline marker. So what you do is you find the place in your design where, let's say you want to drop some markers. Like, what if you have like tracks that are really spread apart in here, right? Like, because everything in After Effects stacks. So sometimes it's hard to see what's going on in a visual layer that's way down here at the bottom of your design. And if you keep dragging stuff around, you're going to get your design all messed up and not know where anything is anymore. My recommendation is keeping your audio together, keeping your animated assets together, and keeping your video tracks together or close by each other. That way you can quickly navigate to wherever they are in your layer stack. So what I'm going to do is, let's say that I want to take this particular video track right here of the trees, and I want to line it up with, let's say I want to line it up to play at the same time that this little short track plays right here. So normally we would take this, line this up, and use the magnetic tool to do that. Now that's good if we're doing it immediately. But if we want to do like several things, if we want to leave it marked that way and also animate to it, I want to use a marker. So I'm going to come over here to my marker icon and drag this out across the timeline. And I'm going to line it up with my playhead and drop it on screen and let it go. And each marker that you pull out, you can pull out tons of these, as many as you need, by the way. I'm going to pull out a second one to mark off the other side of this short clip. So I may have to zoom in to make sure I'm accurate. That's pretty accurate. And I'm just making sure that my little markers are marking off each side of this clip correctly. See, this first one, it's off. Whoops. Okay. So now those are in place. So these are great for leaving in place for marking off areas where you might do animation later, or you might do animation in just a minute with multiple layers involved. So that's what these are good for. Now the good news is, once you drop it, you can move it. You can click back on the little caret that it drops on your timeline playhead, and you can move it wherever you need it. You can also get rid of it when you're done with it by just dragging it back to the right all the way off the timeline, and it will disappear. Okay. So now that I have those dropped in, then I can make qualitative choices about where I need things lined up. And so again, kind of using that as a mark-off tool for understanding track alignment. But then later I could also leave them there and use them for animation alignments. So putting a keyframe in perfect alignment with a marker for a layer that's like 40 layers up or whatever. Sometimes it's helpful because these markers are not glued to any specific layer. See, I can roll up and down the timeline and I can go left and right. They are not glued to any specific layers. They are just there. Okay? I can slide layers around, no change. They are just there for marking purposes for you to use. But now that I have that up there, now I know kind of, hey, if I want to animate to these, I know what I can do. Other things to keep in mind when working with audio media down in the timeline that you can toy with. There are some things here that can be kind of fun. Again, depending on the quality of the video media, remember that you've always got things like effects and presets that you can apply to a video file. And there are a great deal of them listed in here. You can also adjust things for video files from the layer menu at the top of your screen. If you have a particular video layer selected, you can change its time-based options. So you can time reverse the layer to have it play backwards, or you can time stretch it to make it play for extended periods of time.
Basically, it's slowing it down or speeding it up.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So slowing it down or speeding up is great for time stretch. And it will do it to the whole clip. If you're not wanting to time stretch the whole clip, like you're trying to simulate, like, you know, Matrix bullet time moment, which is very overdone today. Everything is bullet time, I swear. But if you want to simulate the idea of like something going normal speed and then suddenly slowing down dramatically, that uses something called time remapping. That's a fun feature to play with, but I do recommend watching a tutorial to use it, as it does take a little trial and error for first-time use. So there are great tutorials on how to use it well, though. I'm not going to go over it because it's a little time-consuming. So we'll just leave it there. All right. Now, one other thing to bear in mind, when you do get into the point where you need to get your video or graphic assets in position to where you're ready to put them together with your masks, this is a step that you'll want to start taking care of that at. Now remember, don't do this until after you've made or exported your test clip, okay? Once you've exported your test clip, all of these little stand-in solid color layers that you've made with your track mats, you no longer need them. They don't serve a purpose anymore. They were really just put there as temporary layers for you to see your shapes of your masks through or on top of. So when you have all that dealt with, at that stage, then you can start moving around your track mats to where you need certain, or move around your video media or graphic media to match where those track mats are. So for instance, if I want this video of the trees to play through one of my masks up above here, I'm going to have to, first off, turn off all of my solo stuff because that's not helping. Now I can see all my masks again. And again, if I want to drop in one of those layers into this, I'm going to take my video layer right here of my trees. I'm going to drag it up the timeline. And I'm going to put it underneath mask number, maybe not number 1. Let me see, what's number 2? 3. Let's do 3. So I'm going to put it directly under this mask. Because again, what I'm trying to realign here is the idea that I'm going to use this video now to replace whatever solid was underneath that mask, right? So I'm going to turn off the old solid that was showing beneath it. And then I'm going to go to my video layer that's located right here below mask number 3. And I'm going to turn on my transfer mode controls and go back to the track mat for my video layer. And I'm going to set it to alpha map mask 3. You may also want to turn off, like, notice that the solid that I turned off still has its track mat turned on to alpha. You may want to go ahead and cancel that thing out for your old solid layers. Again, those solids are just temporary placeholders, so once you're done with them, you can turn them off or delete them if you're completely done with them. But now that I've changed it up, now my video shows through that little region on my design. And again, I can keep doing this and going through and adding different forms or different layers to wherever I need them in my overall design. So if I need this shape to show through mask number 10, I'll move it into position, get rid of my solid, and turn on the track mat for this video so that it now shows through this mask. Now, other funny things you may notice when you're doing this, like, see this image showing through this hole right now? That's actually my original JPEG still image. You do not want that reprojecting on your object all over again, okay? Go back, find that image layer, and you can turn it off now. You don't need it because you've already mapped it out, right? You've got all your masks in place for working with that. So once you turn that off, it will no longer be an active visual element inside your design, which is what you want. So I went in and I turned that layer off just to make sure that I got rid of it. All right, so there my videos are showing respectively through each of those particular regions. Now remember that you can group different surfaces together if you want them to all be animated with one video or one graphic file showing through them at once. That would require making a separate like masking layer that has several of these shapes grouped together. Again, depending on your need, that can be met in different ways. Like for instance, if I want to group together, let's say some of these other masks I haven't used. So this one right here, this blue one, and I'll take the green one up here at the top. So I'll take both of those and maybe the red one, which is way up here. So what I'll do is I'll probably just start with a brand new layer, a duplicate of one of these. So I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to actually rename this so that I know it's a masking group. And inside of it, I know that I have mask number 12, and I want number 13 as well. So I'm going to go into my layer contents for mask 13, and I'm going to grab the shape content from mask 13 because I need all of that from shape 1. So I'm going to do Command-C to copy it, and then I'm going to go into my group, turn that on. And I'm going to go to Contents and Paste, and there it pasted in a copy. And then I'm going to go up to this red mask, mask number 9. I'm going to go into its contents, and I'm going to copy that shape from that layer. And I'm going to paste that also into my group, once I find the group. Mask group. Yep, right there. And paste that one in. All right. And now that I've got that, now I can show something new that shows through those 3 areas specifically inside the timeline. So this is also an important part when you start designing with the masks, that you start changing up their duration on the timeline. Because if you have 2 masks present that are using the same shape space like I'm about to do here, whichever one is stacked on top is going to be the one that only shows though. Okay? So you got to keep that in mind when working in the timeline, that you have to give duration places to each thing if you want it to be shown. So this particular mask for this layer way up here, mask number 9, I'm going to shorten it down to where it plays just a little chunk of that right here so that it only appears for one part of it. And I may also come down and find my other 2 real fast. And so I'll do the same with this one. I'm going to shorten its mask down to only show this little region right here. And then also with this one, I'm going to shorten its region down to start and end right around here. And so now my mask group will show during this particular chunk right here. And I'm just going to insert a new layer. If you're just adding shapes to your scene, you can go to Layer, New, and add an empty shape layer this way. And then you can just draw something with your drawing tools, and it will add it to that layer, that shape layer. All right. So now I got that dropped in. Great. And then all I have to do, wait a second, all I need to do is put that below my masking group, because that's what I want it to show through, and change up its track. To alpha mat to this thing. And there we go. So now they're showing through the respective parts for that layer, which is what they were supposed to do. So I can do whatever I need to with them. I can create little raking patterns where they come in on screen like this. Or do whatever I need to with them. But just to have something rigged for that part. But it's just important to know at this stage that when you do start needing to move content around, that you will need to start getting rid of those original placeholder solids, okay? So make sure that you're moving things around so you can reuse masks you've already designed. If you need to go through and make groups like I did just a second ago here with my masking group, that you go to the respective layers that you want to copy the shape from and paste into a single layer together. That way it can show one piece of media through multiple surfaces. And or that way you can animate several surfaces at one time with one single piece of media. All right. Okay. All right, that's going to probably conclude this part with just kind of talking about moving around media, getting stuff aligned with masks. And so we'll look at another chunk here in a second, the last part with working with advanced animation techniques and working with more audio visualizations.